Ready when you are.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Rail Livers podcast. And I really hope everyone enjoyed like that bonus episode that we did where we covered the entire series of Ted Lasso. But we're back on our train where we're covering all the movies in the Letterboxd Top 250. And joining me today, I'm just going to introduce him like right away. He's a really great friend, and it's his birthday today. He just randomly said when he got on this call, Naf, co-host of the One with the Films podcast. Naf, happy birthday and welcome to the Real Lovers podcast. So
it's a pleasure to be here.
Today?
I'm good. It's 11 a.m. my time, so I woke up about an hour ago, and I had breakfast, and I went through the birthday messages, and now I'm here. And so, like, I don't think the day gets much better than that.
It doesn't get much better, especially since we're talking about the next film in the Letterboxd series that we're doing, and that film is my favorite film and your favorite film as well, and that is the 2017 Pixar animated classic, Coco.
It is, without a doubt, my favorite Pixar film. Like, it's like nothing compares. Nothing holds a candle to this film.
Yeah, I've rewatched this film only twice, and when I rewatched it for this podcast, I realized why I haven't rewatched it more times, just because I was just a complete mess after watching this.
It does mess you up.
A mess in a good way. Yeah, a mess in a good way. But before we get into that, I always like to get into a little segment that I like to call what we've been watching.
Yeah.
And so
that's cool.
Let's get. So Nav, since you're the birthday boy, let's go. Let's kick off with you first. What have you been watching recently?
So I came up with a challenge for myself that I failed, but I got really close to. It was about a month ago that I looked at my letterbox and I was like, I've seen 72 films and my birthday's in 28 days. Like, can I do 100 films before my birthday? Because last year I watched and I logged 89 films in Letterboxd, and I was really proud of that. I was like, man, that's crazy. And then I realized that I've done that, if not more, this year. And I've, well exceeded that. As of last night, I locked in 94 films before my birthday. So it's 6 films off. I'm going to go see Flash tonight, so that'll make 95. But yeah, so I've been watching a lot of stuff. Most recently, I'll go through my most recent activity. I watched The Woman King yesterday, which was like everything I wanted Black Panther to be. I remember watching Black Panther and leaving and going, oh, that was alright. It was cool. And then I was watching this film and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. That was badass. I loved it. I also rewatched Coco. I got to see The Little Mermaid. I've watched the Matrix films for the first time. Well, sort of first time. Yeah, like I know of them through like pop culture osmosis, and I had seen number 1 all the way through, but like didn't pay heaps of attention to it, and then 2 and 3 I had just never really touched because everybody said they suck. So I've finally been getting through those again, which is great. I loved Matrix 1. That is a masterpiece by all definitions of the word. Like, that is as close to a perfect film and sci-fi film as it comes. And then I got to watch The Matrix Reloaded, which was also really good, like better than I expected it to be.
That action sequence in The Matrix Reloaded on the freeway is like, dude, no spoilers, but
no spoilers for a 20-year-old film.
Yeah, true, but I remember sitting in the theater watching that action sequence, just like having it come into my eyeballs. It was like absolutely incredible. Yeah,
it's mental. And even seeing how I think they filmed that in Australia, but they like made a whole like fake highway so that they could do it. It's like, it's impressive. Yeah, so I've been trying to get through those 100 films and I got really close. As we go back, I saw The Departed for the first time. So we watched that for One with the Films this week. We had my 2 credits, shout out to him, bring on Infernal Affairs and The Departed, and we did like a double feature back to back, which was really cool.
It's a great episode, by the way.
Thank you.
Go check that out, so.
Yeah, like we love doing what we do. It's great. And then I guess for your guests, like what we do on One with the Films is the whole purpose behind it is to, I guess, rather than like circle jerk the film bro movies and be like, yes, did you know this happened in Pulp Fiction? We're like, we want to just introduce each other and other people to new things. So we invite guests that we've met through TikTok. You're actually going to be on the podcast in a few weeks' time as well. I'm really excited for your episode. But we invite guests and friends that we've got from TikTok, and me and my co-host Movie Man Opinions. We just show each other films that the other person hasn't seen before, and then we sit and talk about it for a little while. And we've been able to... We're on our 26th episode. So we've watched about 20 new films through that neither of us had ever seen before, and some wild stuff. Like, yeah, if you are struggling to figure out what you should watch next, definitely check out One with the Films, because it's going to give you a lot of recommendations.
For sure, I totally recommend One with the Films. Like you guys are doing really great work over there, and just I love podcasts, especially not trying to toot our own horns, right? But like what we do here at the Real Livers podcast, it's like when I was looking at the top 250, I realized how many films on that list that I didn't watch.
Yeah.
Because I didn't go to film school. And so I just decided to like make it like a challenge for myself.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, and basically just go through the entire list, start from 250 and go all the way to 1. And
what number is Coco?
Coco, here's the thing about Coco that kind of made me sad a little bit, is that it's no longer on the list anymore. It's a 4.2 average on Letterboxd right now. I'm changing that because I rated it 5 stars again. So
yeah, same.
Hopefully it'll come back in the list. But yeah, that's kind of like the one issue that I'm having like with the series. But I feel like once they're in the list, like they're still there.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to talk about Coco again. Like that's the thing. So
yeah, I mean, I was writing my review for it for Letterboxd yesterday, and I was really unpacking a lot of my feelings for the film. That, like, it was a very unique experience for me going and watching this in the theater, because I remember seeing the trailers for it and going, that's really cool. And I come from a Latin American family. I'm not necessarily Mexican, but because of the kind of Latin American that I am, it was really difficult for people in Australia to kind of know what that was. So when I tell people that my family's from El Salvador, they would be like, what is that? So I'd just be like, Mexican. So somehow I had aligned with Mexican for such a long part of my life that, I don't know, like, for me, when I saw this, I was like, oh, that's my family. And obviously a lot of the culture is very similar, because when you look at El Salvador, it's Central America, which is literally like directly above, directly above or directly below Mexico. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's in the same region.
Yeah,
roughly,
they're like sister countries.
Yeah.
One just makes significantly better cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what?
Redacted?
Yeah.
But go back to like what you've been watching. That's pretty much it. Like,
I've been trying to get through like we said, those 100 films, and I could go through the list of 100 films that I've watched this year, but recently it's those few. I started getting through some of the old, I can't remember his name. The guy who did Breakfast Club.
Is it John Hughes?
John Hughes, yeah. So I was recommended a bunch of his films, which was great. And so I got to Breakfast Club for the first time, which I'd never seen before. Yeah, and so a lot of the films that I've been checking out over the last few months have been things that I've never seen. I got to watch all of the Oscar-nominated live-action and animated shorts in theaters this year as well, which was really cool. And I can recommend most of those. My Year of Dicks, fantastic. And The Ice Merchants, that should have won the Oscar.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like My Year of Dicks. Like a film that I would never have imagined, like based on the title alone, I wouldn't have like enjoyed, just because it's such an out there title, but it's beautifully animated. And just, like, yeah, I loved it. So
it's it played last in the theaters, and he was like, if you have kids under the age of 18, you need to leave now.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, yeah, I get it.
Right.
But that's kind of it. I finished Barry, which was brilliant.
No spoilers.
I won't spoil anything.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to the end of Succession just yet. I'm working up the courage to dive into that and finish that off. And finish Ted Lasso, obviously.
Okay, since I just did a bonus episode on that, I have to ask your thoughts on just like, because I hear a lot of mixed things about that finale.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think I loved the finale. I liked it.
Hmm.
But to me, it just felt like I was explaining to my little brother. I was saying that if you'd asked me at the start of the series, what do I think's going to happen in the finale? I reckon I could have given it to you beat for beat. And so I wanted to be, like, you know, shocked, taken away, like bawling my eyes out. But I was just kind of like, no, it's nice. It's not bad. It's just kind of, I wish that they tried to push the envelope a little bit more. That's all.
It's like what you expected.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And so that doesn't make it
like you,
bad, like it's fine. It's just yeah, I would have liked a little bit
I
more.
it's what I expected too, and I stated this on the previous episode, but it felt like the writers throughout the season wanted to explore so many more like storylines, like explore like Sam's storyline, explore like Nate's storyline, but Jason Sudeikis has gone on record multiple times saying that this is a 3-season like show
Yeah.
because it takes a lot out of him because he has to shoot in London and like he's away from his family,
Yeah.
and like he just wanted to like see his family again.
He's living the
So
Ted
it's
Lasso
like,
life.
yeah, exactly. And I see it as like the writers were trying to basically like they kind of like they threw everything against the wall for season 3 and they were like, "Oh crap, we got to wrap all this up."
Mm.
It's somehow and so but sort of leave it open for spin-offs. It's like the whole thing is kind of like messy, especially with like the writer strike going on. Like
Yeah.
Apple TV like posted like posted like an image of Nate, Roy, and Beard like all standing together like, oh, new era, and I'm like, is that a new season or are you just like being cheeky or something like that? It's just like
Yeah. I was
it's
really
all very weird.
I was really like taken aback by Nate's story. That did not go the way I expected it to go. Just in general. I thought that his story arc in season 3 was really good, really well done. And of course, Jamie, I thought it was interesting that a lot of stuff was handled off screen. Like, obviously, end of season 2, we had Rebecca and Sam, and they come back and nothing's there. And then at the end of season 2, you've also got Roy and Keely, and you come back and they're not together anymore. And it's like, what? I mean, I get it. It all makes sense, but like, I would have liked to see what those conversations looked like. Like, the show does a phenomenal job of having these brilliant interactions between its main cast that, like, I feel robbed that I didn't get to see that.
Yeah, and the one thing I didn't really care, like, to kind of like tack on what you said about Nate, is that when Nate just like spoilers for Ted Lasso, I guess when Nate just like quit his job like halfway through the season, like it starts with like I think it was like episode 7 starts with that. I was so like I was kind of like, okay, I guess we're going here. I thought there was going to be like some sort of wrap up like there, except instead of he just kind of like, I'm done here, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like it kind of threw me off a little bit, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I felt
it
like
seems like, and what I've found with TV recently is that showrunners are really loving the 4-season like run, and it feels almost like they tried to cram 2 seasons into one just to finish it in 3 seasons. Which, I mean, sometimes that works. I talk about Majora's Mask all the time, where I'm like, that was going to be a 7-day cycle, and they crammed it all into 3 days, and now it's one of the most content-heavy games of all time.
right.
But in TV, it's a little bit different, because you can't really take it at your own pace. You've got 12 episodes. You got to figure it out.
Exactly. But yeah, but that's all you've been watching. So and
Yeah.
it's I'm sad that you didn't make it to 100 films by your birthday, but you're 6 away. You're pretty close.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
at the end of the day, it's halfway through the year. If I can do 200 by this year, like ending, then I'll be happy with that.
I think you'll get to 200.
Yeah, and my goal is, because there is still a lot of stuff that I haven't quite like got to yet, and so the goal I think is over the next 6 months, or yeah, I'm gonna try and set like a theme for each month and go, I want to get through all of the old samurai films, I want to get through all the old western films, I want to get through all the Hitchcock films, and kind of work through it in stages, so I can really start ticking off some of those classics that I should love, considering I tell people I'm a film buff and a film nerd, and I've seen one Hitchcock film, so don't at me.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. It's like I don't think that there should be like, if you love film, then you love film.
Yeah.
Like there shouldn't be like a number of certain types of films that you should see before you become like a real lover. I guess
Yeah.
I can use that. So it's just like,
Cheeky.
yeah. So I don't know. I just don't like any of like that discourse like online when people are like, "Oh, you haven't seen that film,"
Yeah.
and kind of like putting people down. Like I like one of my mutuals like on Twitter, they always said like, "You never shame anyone, but you never shame anyone for not watching a film you recommend it." Be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you haven't seen this? Like, you should check this one out. Since you like this film, I think you would like this one." So it's like
That's interesting. Yeah.
instead of yeah, but yeah, I haven't really been watching much this week, but I've only been watching like 4 films. But I guess I'll start with like kind of like the bad and then go into the good.
Yeah. Hit me.
I'll like I saw White Man Can't Jump.
The new one.
Yeah, the new one.
I've heard mixed things.
Okay, here's the thing. I think I liked it a little bit more than everyone else. Like at least within my circle. I thought it was relatively funny. I thought Jack Harlow did was
He's a
good
charismatic
comedically.
guy.
He's very charismatic, and he is like his comedic moments are really great. And if you've like seen like his SNL like bits, like if just look up his SNL like hosting gig and just like look at all the sketches
Yeah.
that he did like on YouTube, they're really great. The dramatic parts, not the greatest. Like it really like he's not. I know he's like trying to like break into like acting and kind of like he's doing like what typical rappers do nowadays, like Ludacris, kind of just making that transition from the music side into acting. And this is his first film since that, and with that, and it's not really like it. Like he has some work to do. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Like
Have you watched the show
like,
Dave?
Okay, I have not watched Dave.
That's been one of my surprise favorites. And he was featured on some episodes. Most recently,
Oh, really?
They were like the Met Gala or something like that, and he was pretty good in that. Again, it's not really dramatic. It's more like
It's comedic.
it is comedic. He's like, because it's a fictionalized version of like Lil Dicky's story, and yeah, he just kind of what's the word? He gets compared to Jack Harlow a lot, and so they have like a beef, and it's funny.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Like that. I'll have to check it out. It's just all I've heard about Dave is that it's like the white Atlanta.
Yeah, I was
guess,
gonna say
like,
that it's Atlanta for white people.
Yeah, which I already like Atlanta. I don't
Yeah.
really need like another one of those shows, so I just never
It
checked
is.
it out. But
I think when they say Atlanta for white people, it's like, it's a lot. Well, I suppose grounded isn't the right word because Atlanta is kind of like fantastical in some episodes, but like it's silly. It's like dorky. It's like dorky comedy. Where Atlanta is, yeah, I suppose like I don't know. They are similar. They are similar.
Yeah.
It's like less Atlanta for white people and Atlanta with a white protagonist. So if that makes it better or worse, but it's just different. And there's something really poignant about I am making jokes about my dick for half an hour every week for 3 years, but somehow I'm going to make you cry and I'm going to call you out in some of your, what's the word? Like, I feel very called out by the show because Lil Dicky's character has ADHD, and like this is a big thing that he's constantly like trying to figure stuff out. Nothing makes sense, and I've always just been like, I relate to this guy so much. It's so crazy. And then literally last night I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I was like, God damn it, damn it. So best birthday present ever.
Right. It just finding out more about yourself.
Yeah,
That's the best
yeah, exactly.
birthday
And
present.
so the show is, especially the last few episodes, like I was just sitting there going like, my God, like this is me, dude. It's crazy. Except I'm not famous. But yeah, it's a surprisingly deep and poignant show. And particularly as you get to the end of each season starts kind of silly and you're like, where's this going? And by the end you're like, shit, like wild.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. But White Man Can't Jump, like I feel like it's just fine. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think like all the people out there that are saying like this is the worst thing ever. Like, go watch the 1990 version with Woody Harrelson. Like, I haven't seen that version in years.
Same.
I'm gonna do a rewatch in like probably next week or something like that.
Cool.
But the cinematography in this film, like, it's really great, and like the way it represents like LA in like a new and unique way, I thought was really refreshing, and like I felt like all the race relations that was loved by like the first film, like it's basically like breaking down like those barriers between like black culture and white culture. I feel like it tries to do that in this remake. I'll have to like judge like how like the 1990 version, like when I rewatch that, but I feel like it does it fairly well like for this remake, and I had a really good time. It was it's totally forgettable, but I'm not like sad that or mad
That you
I
watched
watched
it, yeah.
this. Yeah.
I was thinking on your previous point that you mentioned about it just being fine and people talking about how like it's garbage, and I think that that's a very common thing, particularly in like the TikTok discourse, where something like it has to be the best or it has to be the worst, and they're not okay with just films that are just okay. And it's like I watched The Little Mermaid recently, and it was fine. I didn't love it, to be honest. But I'm not mad that I watched it. Like, yeah, it was fine. I got to see it in the theaters. It's pretty. All of Ariel and all her sisters are baddies. It was wonderful seeing them on screen. My God, King Trident
Javier
has some
Bardem.
elite man juice. I'm telling you.
Just like he's able to just spit out every single race. Just every single race.
I don't know. Apparently, there's some kind of like lore in there as well that it's got something to do with like he goes to an area of the planet and like I don't know, like mates with the local flower and births out I have no idea. Somebody's saying something about this. Hello, cat.
I need to like. I need like this fan fiction just like out there. Like,
Yeah, it needs to exist.
Yeah, it needs to exist.
But yeah, long story short, it is okay for films to be fine. You know?
Yeah, and like, can we just go back to saying films are fine instead of like, oh, it's mid?
Oh man, I hate
like,
mid.
Oh, it's so mid. This movie's so mid. I'm like, that's TikTok culture right there.
Yeah.
Like exactly TikTok culture, where it's like it's either the greatest thing or like the worst thing ever, or it's mid, and it's just like, yeah.
I'm
But
sorry if
White
you
Man
start
Can't
hearing
Jump,
some purring through the microphone. My cat's decided to come and hang out.
That's adorable. That's adorable. That's adding to the podcast.
This is her butt.
Yeah. But yeah, White Man Can Jump. You can stream it now on Hulu. If you have a Hulu subscription, it's 90 minutes. Give it a shot.
Nice.
The next one that was, I'll say again, it was just fine and had a really good time with it. Is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
I'm pumped for that. It doesn't come out until August.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Actually,
Like,
no, not
that's-
August. July. Like early
Okay.
July it comes out here, and I'm like, it's
Well, next month.
yeah,
So
it's frustrating. I was literally gonna plan to go and see it like today on my day off, and then I went to look for tickets, and it's like, nope. I'm like, okay, fuck me, I guess. Sorry, can we
Yeah,
swear on Real
it's-
Lovers?
yeah, you can swear.
Okay,
Swear.
cool. Fuck me,
yeah,
I
you
guess.
can swear. No, I'm just- yeah, it's good. But yeah, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. It's coming off of like the success of Bumblebee. It's basically a prequel to that film, and it's starting like this new prequel trilogy or whatever. It's like has nothing to do related to like the Michael Bay Transformers, but it's like starting this new trilogy.
Yeah.
And
I was kind of confused by the timeline for it because like the
Yeah.
originals, you've got one to like, is it the last night? Is that all one series, like 5-6 films?
Yeah, that's all one series.
Yeah,
So
and then we
the
go to
new-
Bumblebee,
the new
which is like a soft reboot, and this takes place after Bumblebee.
Yeah, this takes place before Bumblebee
Oh,
because it takes place in 1990, like kind of like right around that same era. I think it's like
wasn't
maybe
Bumblebee like
6
80s?
I thought it was I thought it was like the 90s, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty-
I don't remember. I did really
Yeah,
like that.
I don't know. Yeah, Bumblebee was really great. It was one of my favorite films when it came out that year. Rise
Another
of the
steelbook.
Beast. Oh, nice.
This one
Nice.
came with a comic as well. I think there's a comic in here.
That's awesome.
I lost the comic.
But Rise of the Beast is like like I'll just say it again. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
But the thing about Rise of the Beast is that I don't really remember anything about it.
Mm.
Like there's stuff that happens, and immediately when I walked out, I totally forgot like everything, and I'm just like, that doesn't bode well for like them trying to like reboot this series. Like I thought that Anthony Ramos did a really great job, but every single time he was on screen, I expected him to like belt out like a Lin-Manuel Miranda song,
Yeah.
which probably would have added to my experience of watching Transformers: Rise of the Beast. But
I think that there's something interesting to be said about those Transformers films because, like, it seems like they don't have the confidence to just do a full-on robot film, and I feel like that's all of us want. Like, if they just did like a War on Cybertron film, I would love it, you know, and just like dive into. You don't have to film anything. Like, if anything, just make it almost like a highly produced animated film. Essentially, the entire thing is CG. Think like Avatar. I reckon that would just pop off because it's almost like the human aspect of the Transformers films is always like the worst part.
yeah,
They're like America and military, like that's the part that's like, why are you like this?
well, the human aspect in like this film and even Bumblebee, I feel like it's a little bit stronger just because Bumblebee was kind of like a
I did
boy
like
and
it
his
in
dog.
Bumblebee, yeah.
Like it was like a boy and his dog like type of story where it's like Haley Steinfeld like just like stumbles on like and on Bumblebee, and they kind of like grow like this relationship, which is like way better than the Shia LaBeouf kind of like
Yeah.
basically his dad buying him Bumblebee, and then Bumblebee's being forced upon like this relationship.
Yeah.
Like Haley Steinfeld, it was more organic. Like here, it's a little bit more organic, but the way I don't really want to give too much away since you haven't seen it, but it feels a little bit wasted. I feel like Anthony Ramos is a little bit wasted, like in like this film, which is disappointing because I want him to succeed. I don't want him to just do musicals like the entire time, which I love him in like those movies, but just like I want him to expand and like do other stuff. But it like Transformers: Rise of the Beast, like it's fine. But let's move on.
I had
to
a bunch of friends that went and saw it. Most of them spoke pretty highly of it. They said at least that it was fun. They had a good time with it. So I'm pretty keen to see it.
Yeah, but moving on to like the two films that were really great is Sanctuary. I've seen
I don't even know when it's showing here. Like, I've been looking for it since I heard about it. I was like, this is a film for me. I want to watch it. And then I saw your review and I was like, damn it, I have no idea. I don't think it's going to come out here. I might have to like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much about it. Like, if you've seen it, it's basically I'll just say it's like a dominatrix like film.
Pumped.
Where it's
I'm sold.
Just and it's a dominatrix film with Christopher Abbott and what's the girl's name? Shoot.
Sexy.
Yeah. She is very good looking in this, but the thing that I loved so much about this is that there's a lot of like horror like elements in it.
Yeah.
Where it's the way stuff is revealed, it's there to kind of like scare you and keep you on edge.
Pumped.
And that kept me going.
Sexy horror. I'm sold.
Yeah. It's so good. That's basically all I'll say about it. I think it's coming out here. I think it's going to be available on VOD here real soon. So I don't know about Australia. If like, how does VOD work for Australia? Is it like
It's pretty much the
AMC?
same. It's just different. Like just different. What's it called? Like not productions, distributors.
Okay.
So like, yeah, usually I'll be able to find it through YouTube or Apple TV or something like that.
Or Pirate Bay. What? Huh?
It's blocked in Australia.
Oh wait, what?
It's blocked in Australia.
That's
It's okay though. We've got a VPN.
yeah, VPN, just VPN. This podcast is sponsored by ExpressVPN. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm waiting for the day I get a sponsorship from somebody. I'm waiting to be like, hey guys, I'm a sellout. Thank you for watching.
I know if you've seen like my TikTok videos, I'm surprised that Universal hasn't been like, just promote Fast 10 Part 2.
One of my friends has just started a campaign to become the official spokesperson for Skeleton Crew, which he's been obsessed with forever. And we were at Star Wars Celebration together, and he got to see the trailer, and I was like, how you feeling? Yeah, but he was at Oz Comic Con this weekend making videos about it. You can see my cat in the shadow here.
That's just the cat just wants to be a part of the show.
She does.
Yeah, but yeah, that's great. I just love like in the age of the internet, where you can just kind of like say, hey, I'm gonna push to do this, like, and then you have the ability to do that. And but yeah, if Universal, you're listening, Fast 10 Part 2, get me to the world premiere. I'm just kidding. But yeah, but
the fact that they're calling it Fast 10 Part 2 is mind blowing to me.
I think they should just call it Fast 10 Part 2, because the director that is Louis Leterrier, he's French, so it should just be like French New Wave Fast and Furious, which would just be like bazonkers.
Amazing.
Like, absolute bazonkers. But yeah, Sanctuary, available on VOD very soon. Check it out. It is hot, raunchy, sexy, horrific. Just
everything I want.
Everything. If that's everything you want, then you'll love Sanctuary. But the last film that I watched is Missing, the follow-up film to Searching. I coined this
follow-up film.
on
Like,
Twitter.
are they like connected?
They're not connected. It's just I coined this term on Twitter. I'm calling them the Screen series.
Okay.
Basically,
are they by the same
films-
director?
It's not the same director, but they produced it.
Gotcha.
Like, yeah, but
Okay.
These films basically take place entirely on screens. Like, if you haven't seen Searching, see Searching.
I haven't seen Searching, but I have heard fantastic things.
It's you got to see it. You got to see it. It's basically just kind of it's like it's a heist film, kind of like in a thriller film, kind of like rolled all into one, and it all takes place on screens. And the way, like, like some of our biggest like pet peeves, like when watching films and you see like a computer screen and how it's so unrealistic on how like they're even like operating like that computer.
Yeah.
Like here, it's like they actually did it, and like some of the things that happen in Missing, where basically the whole premise is that they establish like this relationship between this mother and this daughter, and the mother gets taken captive, and the daughter is basically like looking back through like her emails, like getting access to emails and stuff like that, and all of like the story developments are like through the screen, and it's riveting. It's riveting because you want to know like what happened to like this girl's
And it's
mother.
different too, yeah. Like, there was a film I saw recently called Spree with Joe Keery, which also like it's all filmed as if he was inside like an Uber with all his cameras. So it's like you're watching the live stream of what he's doing. You're not actually watching a movie about him, which was a very interesting way to deliver that story.
Right. Yeah. I know that because I won't spoil it, but I know like a lot of these like kind of like found footage and also kind of like just thriller like movies like about like people being taken captive, like a lot of like the stuff that's happening in it could be like triggering to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And very upsetting. But after seeing Missing, I want to see more of these. To be honest, I don't want to like.
Maybe you got to
like,
make
selfish.
one, Marley. Maybe you got to make one.
No, maybe I should. But
All you need is
find,
OBS.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you just record your computer screen. Be like, all right, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna like Google this girl that I really like and stalk her.
Yeah, it's a short film called Marley the Rizzer.
Marley Riz's film. Marley loves Riz.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Missing is basically just a really great thriller, and like it had me on the edge of my seat, and just like my palms are like sweating by the end of it. It was just like absolutely riveting, really well, really unique, and just being limited by like screens and stuff like that, and just telling a gripping story just like that. Like, but you can Missing right now, I believe, is on Netflix, at least here in the United States.
Yeah.
So people can check that out. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been watching. Yeah. Anyways, let's get into our main review, and that is Coco.
Oh, I was showing you this before we jumped on stream as well. Oh.
Every year, grandkids, cousins, pretty much everyone gets together. Even great-grandma Coco. And the winner is... Luchadora Coco! I tell her pretty much everything. I used to run like this, but now I run like this, which is way faster.
Life sounds like...
Miguel, eat your food. Here, have some more.
No, gracias. I mean, see?
That's what I thought you said.
All right. Sorry about that, Nav.
No, it's okay. I wasn't expecting it, but I should have because
Yeah.
you told me beforehand that you were going to say that.
Yeah, but that was from a trailer. That was from the trailer from Coco, the 2017 film directed by Lee Unkrich. He also directed Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3. I'm just going to read the synopsis here from IMDb for the audience. Despite his family's baffling generation's old ban on music, Miguel dreams of becoming an accomplished musician like his idol Ernesto de la Cruz. Desperate to prove his talent, Miguel finds himself in the stunning and colorful land of the dead, following a mysterious chain of events. Along the way, he meets a charming trickster Hector, and together they set off an extraordinary journey to unlock the real story behind Miguel's family history. Naf, I'm gonna let since you're the birthday boy, I just want you to gush about this film. Just gush about it.
Yeah. Well, first I wanted to say I got this steelbook of Coco, which we can kind of see in the camera there, which is one of my favorite ones in my entire collection. It is gorgeous, and so are my nails.
It's a
But this is
fabulous.
one of my favorite
Fabulous.
ones in my collection. Thank you. I did them with the intention of being fabulous. It's pride, you know. We gotta
right.
gotta show up.
Happy Pride. Which I'll just say that the last two films that I recorded, like we're doing Coco like today, for it's June 13th, and then I just recorded RRR. Like
Yes.
they're not technically like LGBT films, but like Coco is essentially about identity and like kind of discovering yourself and
Yep.
kind of and coming to terms like what you are meant to be, and like having your family kind of like accept like who you are.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's not technically an LGBT film, but
but it is. It is.
like it really is.
Yeah.
And then RRR is basically just
It's a
about
love story.
two men. It's a love story.
it's a
two
love
men-
story. Yeah.
It's about two men that are okay with kind of like being with each other and like having like just healthy masculinity. Like,
Yeah.
healthy masculine relationships, and it's yeah.
I was gonna say that I think that that's something that I've tried to cultivate in my like friendships and relationships as well. Like, if people don't think that me and my best friend are gay together, then like we're not best friends. And you'll see like from my relationship with like Key, we are very, very close. And even with my friends that are in Australia as well, I'm like, I am somebody who just loves wholly, and I'm like, I don't really care. And so that was one of the reasons I really loved, like, you know, for example, like Lord of the Rings back in the day, where I was like, why is it weird to want to like hug your friends and be close to them and just like what, like it's just love, and love is the same. So yeah, but
Sam and Frodo. You're
exactly,
referring-
like yeah. You know, there were many cold nights where they snuggled up naked under those covers.
Yeah, totally. I'm pretty sure J.R. Tolkien intended that for sure. I want the spin-off.
Well, I remember
That's-
seeing that a lot of
Too
his
Ring, Too
ideas.
Furious.
Too nice. Too Wraith. I remember seeing that his explanation of like those characters and their relationships came from the fact that like when you're at war for years, like this is all you have. It's just these other people around, and you kind of learn to be like, you know, we need that from people, like that kind of like just affection and like kind of like unadulterated just love. But I think that you're absolutely right. I also want to say this poster on this side is not mirrored. This is one of the most beautiful posters they've designed. It is so good. And it's like during that time when everybody was making those, you remember the Noah poster? It's like he's just
yes,
facing backwards, and it's like it's epic. I'm not looking at the screen, but it just works
I'm edgy.
so well.
I'm edgy. I'm
for
not.
this.
Yeah. It.
I was gonna say that you're right in the sense that like it does have kind of underlying tones of like an LGBTQ film. Because especially watching it this time, the most recent watch, I was like, yeah, like you can really see that it could be, you know, you remove family and you remove music and put, you know, queerness into it, and you remove like the hate of music and you make it like a religious family. It's like this is an experience that a lot of people have had. Where it's just this is the way things are, man. We don't live life like that. This is how life is lived. This is normal. And so I think the film does a very good job of very subtly touching on those points where if you want to look into it, you can see it, but not every person is going to sit down and go, oh yeah, this is a film about this.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like I feel like this film was directed by Leon Critch. Like he's not Latin American. He's not. And I feel like that's probably like when this movie came out, like it was probably one of like the criticisms towards it is that they needed like to have like someone like from that heritage to kind of like dive deep into it. But like one of the interesting things is like before we started recording is like there's this article in The Verge where they interviewed Leon Critch like back in the day, kind of like talking about like his experience and how he was like filled with anxiety, like of like the immense pressure of him directing like this film because he wanted to make sure it was authentic, authentic like Latin American Mexican experience, just because and Pixar is also very well known for doing heavy amounts of research before starting like their film. Like I remember Finding Nemo was
They became fish for like 12 months.
Yeah, they became fish for 12 months, and also
one guy cut his hand off just so he could figure out what it was like to swim with one smaller limb.
Well, no, I remember like John Lasseter. I know it's kind of like common to like not like him anymore because of like certain things, allegations that not allegations anymore. It's like I guess like it's actual truth now, but it's like one of the things that he had like his team do was like basically like get like a fishing trip and just go out on like the water and just like experience everything, take like pictures like everywhere. And like one of the things Lee Unkrich did here is that they went to like Mexico City and lived like families like in Mexico and just kind of like took everything in, interviewed them, like even like his partner Adrian Molina, he's Latin American, and he was able to like help him out on that. So like Pixar does like do like heavy research, and they do have like people behind the scenes, but I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't Adrian Molina directing this, because it feels like it was his film to direct.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it is really interesting that and I think that often when you're watching a film about your culture or what's very close to your culture, you can usually tell when somebody's just kind of like trying to fit in. It's like, you know, when you watch a TV show these days and you can tell that it's a 40-year-old man writing Gen Z characters.
Yes.
And
are you referring to a shoot?
Riverdale did it really bad for a while. I haven't watched The Idol yet, but I remember there were episodes of Riverdale where I was like, what the fuck am I listening to right now?
Don't you dare step on Riverdale. Don't you dare. I was hoping you would say Euphoria with Sam Levinson.
Yeah, Sam Levinson. There's a character.
What can we say about him?
Oh man, what a creep. Anyway, I didn't feel at all that this film was just pandering to me for no reason. It felt very, very, very respectful of that culture, and it felt like every person that I've like spoken to, especially when I was younger, they're like, you remind me of Miguel. Like, you look like him. I'm like, guys, no. It's not okay. But like, there aren't many films that I've just gone into and I've been like, I had a very similar experience to Miguel. Like, I was I wanted to be a musician. I was in a band when I was younger. My parents were very, very unsupportive of that and tried to put every roadblock possible so that we weren't able to, kind of succeed there. And I was quite young, so I didn't really have a choice in that. I kind of had to just deal with it. I had my older brother who he was able to sort of stick with it, and he's now working in the music industry and still has one of the biggest salsa bands in Melbourne, and has found some moderate success. And I look at him sometimes and I'm like, man, like I was going to be a part of that at one point, but I'm not, because I was kind of pushed in the other direction of like, nope, get out, get a job. You can't be out past 10 p.m., which means you can't go and do gigs. So like a lot of Miguel's life I really, really related to. And I couldn't believe it watching this film in the theaters when I did in 2017, just sitting there and going like, whoa, this is wild.
So, see, what you just said there, it means this is why representation is so important on every single level. For me, like growing up, like I didn't necessarily have to see myself on screen just because I don't my value in film is different than like everyone else. Is that I can pull things from like certain like characters in like film and be like, oh, I can see myself there, and stuff like that. But I understand that like that's not everyone, and this is why like you just said, like sitting like in the theater 2017 watching Coco, and you're like, this is like
I'm already an adult by that time, that's 6 years ago. So I'm 22 and this is a child, and I'm going, whoa. Yeah. And what I found was really interesting is I remember that when Black Panther was coming out and people were talking about the representation in that film, because that was kind of where it feels like that really took off. But I remember kind of being like, like I don't really see, I get it, I suppose I get it. Like, yeah, you should have films for you, but like it doesn't really matter to me because it's not for me. But it was moments like this, and particularly the Latin American representation that came across into Star Wars, which is my favorite space, that I was kind of like, oh, I get it now. And then again, in terms of this, I already felt like I aligned with it. And then on the other things that we were talking about, like between watching that when it came out and seeing it now, like I'm queer. I'm like, it aligns with me even more. I'm like, oh wow, right? That's wild.
Right.
So yeah, like it goes to show that you don't really know what you don't have until you kind of like see it. And for me, being mostly, like I'm white passing, like I'm a little tan, but like when I watch Star Wars and I see Luke Skywalker, even though he's blonde hair, blue eyes, I'm still like, hey, it's me. But
hey, it's a me.
What are you talking about? Like I still see myself
Pratt in Star Wars. No, I'm just kidding.
How dare you?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I have still seen myself on screen a lot of the time, but then there was a point where I was kind of like, wow, one of the main characters in a Star Wars film, who's the best pilot in the galaxy, is Latino. Whoa. There was a lot more that I was kind of like, okay, I get it now. And now I'm like, all right, I will fight for people, man. Like, you deserve to see yourself on screen. And I think similar to what you're saying, any person who's black or Latino or Asian are going to be able to see themselves within aspects of a character. You're going to be able to align with, oh, that's very similar to how I was growing up. And when we talk about like the immigrant experience, and particularly being a child of immigrant parents, a lot of it's the same. I've got Asian friends, Latino friends, like black friends that are like a lot of similarities in how our parents raised us, but it's not identical. So you can kind of get it by watching things like this, by watching just generic films. But then when something comes along that feels like it was made for you, yeah, it's really difficult to disconnect from that in a way. And I mean that in a positive way. Like, why would you want to? But I'm just like, I'm drawn to this film beyond almost any other film.
And it's really interesting. Like we really started getting a lot of these films that were drawn to us, like especially like millennials that started breaking into like the film industry, and started.
Everyone wants to tell their
like,
story. They're like, hey, my parents are messed up in the head. I'm gonna make an animated film about that.
Yeah, like my parents are messed up in the head. Like they wouldn't make me like make films or like become a musician. I'm gonna just like profit off it and stuff like that. It's
Literally,
like,
I'll show them.
I'm gonna show them. You're gonna sit down in the theater. You're gonna pay $15, and then you're gonna watch this, and you're gonna cry your eyes out.
Yeah.
Because it was traumatic, and I cried.
It's like
my
making
eyes
my
out.
parents watch Encanto, and kind of being
Oh.
like, ladies, gentlemen,
Right.
you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, the
But-
generational trauma has been strong with animated films for the last few years.
Yeah, and Pixar has just been. I feel like they've been riding that train since the beginning. Like, to be honest, like Coco really hit me strong with the generational trauma, but like even even something like Toy Story too. I was just like Andy like growing up and kind of like forgetting like his toys and just becoming becoming older and stuff like that, and just like I don't know. It's just like they've always tugged at the heartstrings with like that type of stuff. So
I think Toy Story 3 was also a film that like came at like the perfect time. Like we were all in the space that Andy was in at that time. You know, it's like most of us that are millennials and pretty similarly aged, you know, between like sort of the mid to late 20s or early 30s, they were kind of like, yeah, Toy Story growing up was like us, and then feeling that kind of disconnection from your childhood and going, okay, like I guess I'm grown up now and that's not something that I get anymore. Going and sitting in the theaters and watching Toy Story 3 and going, whoa. that was a
Right.
very real moment for I think a lot of people. And that's why that film
Yeah.
stands
it
above so
would-
many others.
it was the first Pixar film, to my knowledge, that I full on cried in. Like when they were, like, spoilers for Toy Story 3 if you haven't seen it by now, like just whatever. It like when they're all holding hands like in that fire pit,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, it's all coming to an end, so let's go out together, and I'm just like, ah!
Yeah, it was that moment where they're like, they're trying, and then it's just it's Woody trying to get out, turning around, looking at Buzz, and Buzz just being like, let's just hold hands. That's all we can do.
Right.
Oh, dude, I would cry just thinking about it.
Meanwhile, there's a 5-year-old kid sitting right next to me, and he's like, "What's wrong with this guy? Why is he crying in the middle of a movie at the end of a movie about toys?" And I'm just like, "You don't understand."
Yeah. Well, I was actually
But-
talking about this. I think this is something that Coco does really, really well. It also came in a part of my life where I was very much like, you know, I was coming out of my sort of religious childhood and really coming to terms with like, what does life look like for me? You know, like I don't believe what my parents believe. Am I just gonna die a very sad, lonely death? I don't know. And there was things about this film that even watching again that like it handles some pretty dark subject matter. Like, how many times do you sit down and go, I'm gonna watch a movie with my kids where the enemy is oblivion? Like, the enemy is being forgotten about beyond anything. Like I'm just done. I'm gone. That is terrifying, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying. Like even like like at the very end of the I guess we can get into spoilers now for like Coco, but like the end of the film, like when Miguel like finds out that Hector was his actually like part of his family, and like you like the whole "Remember Me" song, like I'm tearing up right now. But
The last
like,
scene with
when
Mama
you-
Coco where he's sitting there and he's just like, Mama Coco, remember,
and he-
remember your
when he-
papa.
Right, and he's like, he pulls out the guitar and she like starts singing, and I'm just like, and then she reveals that like she's never forgotten like her papa,
Yeah.
and it's like and I'm just like,
It
it's so good.
It is. And the thing with that as well is, so one of the things that this film does incredibly well is, while it may feel like it blindsides you the first time you watch it, on rewatch, you can see that it is a perfectly crafted and perfectly written masterpiece in how it divulges big plot twists. Like, the misunderstanding subplot that exists within this film that we witness through Miguel's lens, where he is so sure that Ernesto de la Cruz is his great grandpa. And his family's like, what do you mean? No? Like, that's not a thing. And he's just like, nah, shut up. I know. Of course you guys wouldn't think that because you don't think about him anymore. So, like, of course you wouldn't. Like, they do such an expert job of having us view the world through Miguel's lens that you also can't believe that it would be anything else. So even when you meet Hector, it's like why would you think anything else? And it's not until you go back and rewatch the movie later that you start to like see all the parts of the story. You know, like they call him chorizo, and you're like, what? And then, you know, at the end with Ernesto going, maybe it was that chorizo, my friend, and you're just like, oh, you asshole. Yeah.
You know, a film's really great when you're just yelling at the screen. You're just like, God.
Well, the other thing
Like,
that I
really?
think is really like the thing that I think is fantastic is that because of how Miguel presents the information that he's found to his Mama Imelda, she thinks exactly what he thinks, but it's just they haven't cleared off who they're going to. And he's like, my great grandpa loved music, I'm gonna go and get his blessing instead. She thinks he's going to Hector. And she's just like, we don't talk about that, man. And Miguel sees that as confirmation of his information. And it's just, you're like, it's so expertly done. Yeah. And then coming back to hearing like Mama Imelda sing for the first time, and that conversation between the bars, and even how that's just framed and shot, you know, where you're like, Miguel is freed by his love for music, and Mama Imelda's still trapped in that history. She's angry. She cannot let go. She's trapped behind these bars. She can't. Oh, dude.
Well,
The
and even like
symbolism-
when she starts singing, that whole performance turns into like a fight between De La Cruz and what's her name again?
Mama Imelda.
It's brilliantly choreographed, like
Yeah.
between those two,
The
because
song
it's
is
like
fantastic too.
she's performing, but also kind of like fending for her life against De La Cruz, because De La Cruz is trying to like get the photo, like the photo of Hector like away from her, and it's just like it's like this film is so beautifully animated too. Do you think it's like the most beautiful like Pixar film?
Well,
like,
I think that one of the things that
ever?
it benefits from, like, you know, we look at things like Toy Story 3, and Toy Story 4 in particular pioneered change within the animated industry. You know, I remember watching a video that I was talking to Keegs about recently, which talks about how when they moved into the realm where they started animating things like Toy Story 4, they now use like essentially like fake lenses within their animation programs, and like you have things that you previously couldn't do in animation that you can now do because they kind of like have found a way to, what's the word, like yeah,
just
basically
reinvent.
yeah, like
kind of
reinvent,
like-
but I'm also, what's the word I'm searching for, my god, it's like
Pioneer.
yeah, more like they're able to basically create something that wasn't there before. And yeah, I suppose pioneer it in a sense, but like make something that exists in real life that you previously couldn't do in animation, now you kind of can. It's almost like, as opposed to just animating it, they're filming what they've animated. Which is very similar to like what they do in like video game development, where you've got not just with like mocap and stuff, but like in general, like you see when they were doing The Last of Us, and watching Neil Druckmann talk about the difference where in game development, if he goes, I want a different angle, I can just adjust a little bit, I can change, I can, you know, I can basically fix everything in post. And yeah, like it's something that you obviously can't do in live action, but then animation is right in between the two.
It's an unlimited medium.
Yeah.
Like it's like this is why animation is a medium. It's a genre. It should be taken seriously.
Yeah.
You can tell the exact same stories that you tell in live action. Except you can expand on it. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I that kind of like tag along like what you said there, like about like just how you can like expand on like just like where you can put the camera and stuff like that. I feel like Pixar learned a lot from cinematography, like when they worked on WALL-E, because Roger Deakins was like the GOAT the GOAT, Roger Deakins,
Yeah.
he was a consultant on that film, and one of the things that he taught them like lighting and just like how to position the camera, and you can really see like all the films like post Wall-E, like the animators were learned a lot from Roger Deakins and how they kind of like incorporated that into like their future films, and how they also almost got better than Roger Deakins because of like it just like what they can do like within this medium. Like you just said, they can place a camera like in certain areas to like have like have the audience have a certain effect like with the characters.
Absolutely right. And one of the things that I also find just mesmerizing about like animated films, be it stop motion or computer generated, or even hand drawn animation, is that every single thing that you are seeing was intentionally placed. And we talk about this in, like, for example, like shows like, you know, The Bad Batch for Star Wars, where it's like sometimes you can watch a movie and you can go, is it really that deep? You know, is the intention from the director for me to see it this way? And maybe it is. Maybe it was an accident. I think a lot of the time things are just happy accidents and they work out. You see Steven Spielberg talk about his process and how he might storyboard the night before, but he goes in early on the day, looks at the set and goes, how am I going to shoot this? I'm going to shoot it like this. And he just figures it out on the day. It's like, with the animation, you've got your storyboard, and then we're going into your animatics, and then we're going into the fully animated version, and then we're doing further passes, and we're adding particle effects, and like, it's insane. And so it's so impressive that every single thing, every character in the background that has a little bit of movement, somebody worked on that. It's not just we filmed, we said extras in 3, 2, 1, and then something happened. It's like, no, somebody went there and made that person. And I think particularly when you look at something like stop motion, where it's not just you did it in a computer, but like we did it by hand, that escalates even further.
Exactly.
And so animation as a medium is just so impressive. And so to answer your question, which we kind of beat around the bush quite a bit, I think that you could argue that some films are better animated or like look nicer or more realistic depending on what you're going for. But I would say that this is hands down one of Pixar's most gorgeous films, and it benefits from the fact that half of it is told in a fantasy land. You know, like, I mean, Toy Story looks great, but it's in real life. He's literally inside death. Like,
inside death.
It's
I like
just
that. Pull that quote out. Miguel is inside death.
Yeah.
And it like the day like.
Hey, she's a baddie, bro. Can you blame her?
I'm
kidding. Sorry, go ahead.
But the Day of the Dead like sequences, like really some of the most beautiful things. Like even like how Miguel even gets there, like when he picks up like his like Hector's guitar, I guess. Spoilers. It's not De La Cruz, but he picks up the guitar and like these flower petals like zoom around him, and it creates like this bridge to. It's like just absolutely amazing, like what they do with color in this film. And how,
you're absolutely right.
How they like divide like the Day of the Dead like world with reality, and how everything is kind of like popping like a little bit more. Like things still pop like in like the like in Hector's world, but it's you can kind of see a little bit of flatness. Like you kind of see it like kind of like you can see it's grounded. That's what I'm trying to say. It's grounded. But
I wanted to add a little bit on the story and how like it unpacked itself for us early on. When we start the film, if you haven't gone in with like a trailer for the film and you're just sitting and watching it for the first time, it is presenting you with a different film than when you're actually going to watch. Like from the start, he's, you know, this is my past, my family, blah, blah. We work as shoemakers. I love music a little bit. And then it comes out to the musician going, hey kid, I asked for a shoe shine, not your life story. And we're like, that's funny. But then the way that guy says to him, like, hey man, you know, it's your dream, you know, like you gotta, there's the thing in the plaza tonight. Like you gotta play, you know, like this is how it works. And we're presented with Miguel's goal isn't to go to the land of the dead and witness and learn the history of his family. he just wants to play for people. And you
Right.
can see in those scenes early on, which I also love how they animated those, because they're like, he's using the correct frets to play those. Like, if you watched it slow motion, you could learn the song as Miguel plays it. Like,
That's crazy. That's nuts. That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, it's
And
it's
even,
so
like,
impressive.
Like the way, like, kind of like adding on to like what you just said about like how this story like unfolds, and like it like rewatching this, like especially like for the second time, and like I'm not sure if you've seen Across the Spider-Verse,
Yeah.
like or it.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure you. Yeah, I saw a lot of similarities to Across the Spider-Verse in this film, like totally, like especially like when he goes like to the other world, like and you saw a lot of like just like who Miguel is supposed to be. Miguel is supposed to be like this like shoe shiner and just like kind of be like that for the rest of his life. But like Miles, like in Across the Spider-Verse, like he's supposed to be like the certain Spider-Man, and like this is like this is supposed to be like his path.
I mean, yeah, those films are about identity as well.
I'm trying to dance around spoilers.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, totally fair, fair. But I think that what we were talking about early on about how this film is about identity, like the Spider-Verse films are that same story. Like, at its core, that's the crux of a Spider-Man story, is him going, what am I meant to be, and what does that mean to me to be that? But we were talking about how the film kind of presents you with a different story than where it actually goes off, and it's almost like it happens by accident, you know? And we talk a lot about Better Call Saul, and how like Vince Gilligan in particular talks about how he doesn't see coincidence in film or TV as a negative thing, like in general. Like, he uses coincidence a lot, but his mindset with it has always been, if there's going to be a coincidence, it's not going to save my character, it's going to send him deeper. So the coincidence, rather than going, oh, he got out easily because that person happened to not be there, it's like, no, the person that you didn't want to be there is right there in front of you, and now you've been busted. Now how are you going to get out of it? And it's the same sort of thing. It's like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, there's only one guitar I can find. I'm just going to go get that guitar. They'll understand. It's okay. And it's just, your family was cursed, my dude.
Right.
Like, it was, and you know, you've got Miguel talking to his family going like, yeah, I took my great-great-grandfather's guitar, who he thinks is Ernesto de la Cruz's guitar, but they all know it's Hector's guitar. Like,
yeah.
And it just, oh my God, I love that. I love that aspect of this film so much, because it's just so sure of itself, and it's so well structured in how it delivers that information, that until you go back and watch it a second time and you're like, these cheeky fuckers.
Right.
Yeah.
They knew all along. They knew all along like where they're going like with this.
But we were talking also about how Pixar films have started to take from live action in how they film things. And one scene in particular in this film does that phenomenally. And it's when it becomes like that one take POV shot when Miguel walks into Ernesto's party. And it's like, I haven't seen something like this in an animated film up to this point, where you kind of have this, you know, like a one take that's going through, and it's a bit of shaky cam. Like, it feels like they've animated it, and then they've done the Peter Jackson thing of like walking through the animation with the mocap camera, and he's just filming it in person. It's insane, and it works so well, and it draws you in so much because it doesn't feel as disconnected from reality as it may have previously. You just feel like, oh, yeah, if I was shooting a party scene of a kid going into the party for the first time and trying to figure out where everything is, that's how I would have shot it in live action.
Right. And they didn't feel limited like
Yeah.
here. They just did it. They just
Yeah.
did it because they're like, we can do this. One thing that I do like, I know we're gushing about this film, just justifiably so. Like this film is like one of the greater films like ever made. I think the thing, like, especially on a rewatch, the thing that I struggled with, like, with this film, is the second act. Is like when he's in like the land of the dead, and like he's like disguising himself, and he's kind of like with Hector, but he doesn't really know. Maybe it's just because like I know who Hector is at this point, and I want the film to kind of like get going, and I'm kind of like I feel like the film kind of like drags a little bit.
Interesting. I don't know if I'd agree with that. And again, obviously, people's experiences are going to be their own. But I suppose the way that I've viewed Pixar's storytelling a lot of the time is they very much employ the out of the frying pan into the fire kind of story. And then you get out of that frying pan and you're into another fire and you're into another one. And Toy Story 3 and the Toy Stories are like very much that. But I think that particularly one of the ways that it works for me, the second act, is in how we're kind of doing little MacGuffin chases to try and tick off, all right, I need a guitar, and then I need to get here, and I need to do that. But throughout that, it's also doing some very deep world building. Like, that's obviously while they're looking for the guitar, you get to the space where you're like, oh, this is not as happy as the other place was. Like, it is darker here, it is slower here, it is less colorful. And then we meet, I can't remember his name, but Churrasco, I think his name was? I can't remember.
I think so.
But yeah, we meet the friend who's now being forgotten, and Miguel witnesses for the first time, again, oblivion, right? Like, what happened? He's like, he's gone. Where? We don't know. He was forgotten. Nobody knows him anymore. And it kind of just has you go like, Jesus.
It's such a deep and depressing, like the way it's animated when they just disappear. Like, they just kind of, like, flash.
Yeah.
And then they're just...
It's
they're
the
just
Thor
gone.
Ragnarok... what's his name? Odin disappearing into the.
Yeah, it's
but
really dark for a kids' film.
Yeah,
to
dude.
be honest.
But it's also
like,
one of those things that, as a kid, if you're watching it, you may not feel the implications of that too much. You may go, "Oh, okay, cool. He's just gone to the next place."
yeah.
But I also love that it's in its world building. It's also expanding on the story a little bit. You know, like you've got Hector up to this point is talking about how he hates music. He doesn't care. Like, you know, and in Rewatch, you go, it's because his life was destroyed by music. You know, he lost his family and then he died before he was able to get back. Like, rough.
Yeah.
We get to see
The
him
thing
play
that he
music.
loves so much destroyed him.
And we get to see him play music, and we get to see Miguel's reaction to going, wait, this guy is like, he's so good. He sings, he plays, like, yeah. And then you get to the sort of that middle part of the middle act where we start to get more music and more songs. And man, the music in this film is so good.
So good.
We got a question over on the YouTube live chat as well from the view with Drew. And he asks, he hasn't seen Coco, but he said, he's got a big question. What's a movie you feel gets bashed for the dumbest reason?
Oh. Like bashed, like just people hate it on?
People hate it, yeah.
Well, we kind of already touched on this, but Little Mermaid. I feel like people hated on that one because for like very racist reasons. Like
I
people are like,
have a friend who studied as a marine biologist, and he was I'm not racist, but she should be bioluminescent, and I'm like, what? He's like, she should be see-through. I'm like, the crab is Jamaican. The fish talks. Why is that your argument?
it's a Disney film. It's fiction. It's fiction. It's fantasy. It's like
I could at length talk about The Last Jedi.
me too. You don't have to convince me because I love The Last Jedi. So
yeah, I think particularly for me, I remember having a conversation with like a work colleague where he started pulling out the scientific inaccuracies, and I was like, okay, so do you want my in-universe answer? Because if you want an in-universe answer, I have it that fits physics. But then also, it's fucking space wizards, dude. Like, I'm sorry that the bombs drop out in space. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you, man. Like, there are ships in episode 5 that crash into other ships that aren't affected by a tractor beam, and it's not necessarily big enough to have a gravitational pull. It's just there. And then you've got the what's it called? The original, like the prequels and stuff, where ships blow up, and what happens when they blow up? Oh yeah, they fall out of space, and they don't fall to the planet. They just fall down, and the planet's here. Like, just don't at me about physics in Star Wars. It doesn't fucking matter.
yeah, exactly. These are space westerns. Space westerns. They're the space cowboys. It's just like, just have a good time with it. And
Yeah.
I don't want to get into a tangent on Last Jedi because we could talk for like 3 hours.
If
on
you
this
do an episode on
because-
The Last Jedi, I'm in.
Yeah. I don't think that's in the Letterboxd top 250. I
It
don't
should
think
be
so.
number one. It should be number one. I'm saying.
It should be number one. But
But The View with Drew
I-
said it's okay if you disagree, but I think people calling Die Hard 4 bad because of the PG-13 rating is dumb, because Die Hard 5 went back to rated R and it was even worse.
so, no, Die Hard 4 is the one with Justin Long, right?
I've seen none of the Die Hards.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's Live Free or Die Hard. And like
Wasn't that the one that had Captain Boomerang in it?
Yes. Who's Captain Boomerang again?
The
Just-
Australian guy.
just-
I can't remember his name right now. Captain.
I know it had Kevin Smith in it, and like when he
Jai
came on
Courtney.
screen. Jai Courtney, that was 5.
Gotcha.
I believe. But Kevin Smith was in 4, and he was like this hacker or whatever, and like the whole
I've seen
point of
people
Live
talk
Free,
about
Die
that
Hard-
scene. The exposition
it's-
dump.
it's really dumb, but it's also dumb fun too. And like,
Yeah.
like I feel like that's like the whole point of Die Hard, and like even like I don't want to say this about Star Wars, but like
Be careful.
I don't want to say it's dumb. I don't want to say it's dumb fun, but it's like you're supposed to have fun.
Yeah.
It's like you don't think about it like too hard about it. And I'll since we're on Last Jedi just a little bit, I'll just like say like my piece a little bit with that is that some of the arguments that I've had, like they would always bring up Mark Hamill's like why Mark Hamill hates the Last Jedi because everything about his character happens off screen. And I feel like that's the problem, especially like in the world of film criticism now, is that it's either you over explain and the movie is bad, or you under explain and the movie is bad. And it's like there's no middle ground. I personally like it like when films under explain, because that allows me to kind of like be more creative and kind of like think of like why is Luke like acting like the way he is? Why
Yeah.
is like why, even like in something like Coco, why is like Miguel like what was his love for music? Like why did he love music like so much? It's like obviously like the film like explains that, but I was just trying to tie it back to, like the
Yeah,
film
no,
we're
I think
talking
you're
about,
absolutely
but-
right. And I think that we actually talked about this in the most recent episode of One with the Films. Shameless plug. Where we talked about like a Western remake of a foreign film. And one of the big things is the difference between the two is one of them is very, very clear in its outcome, and it goes, this was the bad guy, this was the good guy, this is how the film ended. That's the Western version. But Infernal Affairs very much kind of leaves you to, like, I wonder what it must be like to live with this afterwards. Like, this is, like, there's more conversation there. And it's funny that, like foreign cinema is more inclined to let you sit with something and go, you take whatever you want to take away from this. It's fine. We talked about how we also did an episode on Legend, and I watched the European cut of Legend, and it's a lot more like open, for lack of a better word. Like it's a lot less like exposition dump heavy. And when they screened that for Western audiences, they didn't like it, so they went back and reshot stuff, and they put like a text crawl at the start, and the ending is much more closed off, and it's like, yeah, good guy, bad guy, blah blah. But yeah, it's something that is more common in foreign cinema.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because
White people are dumb. I'm kidding.
Well, I wouldn't say dumb. I would say that Western audiences are more spoiled than audiences like overseas, just because the media that we get, especially now, like we're so used to having something like at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And the way media is like, I don't know because I haven't been outside like the States, but from what I hear is that like the filmmaking like business is like it's profitable like in other countries, but it's nothing like Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like Hollywood is like
Hollywood
big,
is a
like,
machine.
major. Yeah, Hollywood is Hollywood is like a machine, and like other countries, it's like they pump money into it, but it's usually like they get like one or two great films like a year, and everything is it's kind of like everything is kind of like fine. Like would you agree with that, or just
I absolutely would. And I would say that I don't think that filmmakers would often come to the table going, I want to make a film that spells everything out for my audience, right? Like, I don't think that's the case. I think that a lot of the time, particularly your non-A24 studios, will very much be focused on how can I make the most profit possible, but then your more indie studios will be like, I just want to make the best film possible. And when you're trying to make the most profit, you need to cater to a very wide audience, where the amount of people that are interested in watching a film with the expectation that I'm gonna, like, I want to think about something, I want to be questioned, I want it to have me question my morals, my everything, is a lot less than the people who want to just use it as an escape and just go and have a couple of hours where they have a bit of fun. So yeah, like, it's not necessarily that white people are dumb. I think it's just that
We're just
there's a
spoiled.
very
We're just
wide
spoiled.
audience. And yeah, like, when you're trying to meet the widest target demographic possible, you need to simplify your story.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just like just Western audiences, but just being obsessed with like box office too. On how, like, I think like one of the things like I hate the most, especially like on social media, and how like you always see like box office numbers like, oh, it made 60 million, that means it's a flop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just because like it came in under budget, or like just because it didn't like make back its money, it doesn't mean like it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's because there's multiple reasons why it didn't like make its money back. Like, it could be like poorly marketed, or just like the fact that like streaming services just push out movies like just like a t-shirt cannon. They just fire like movies out just like crazy, and people just forget about it. And that's
about we were talking about The Woman King just before, and that's one that like was a box office flop. To my understanding, I haven't actually looked at the numbers, but my understanding is that it didn't do well. But it was awesome. Like, it was incredible.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, like, I guess maybe the studio didn't know how to market it effectively, and now we're here, you know? It's like there are so many films that have become cult classics. Again, I mean, even look back in the day, it's been like Blade Runner that like flopped originally, and then it wasn't until re-edits and re-releases later that it became a cult classic, and they were like, oh no, there's a real version of this film that I can watch that is great. Blade Runner 2047? 2049.
2049.
Yeah, Blade Runner as well is another one, like 2049 is another one that was a box office flop, but it is a brilliant film. But it's also not going to be for everyone. And it is, again, it's not foreign cinema, but it's coming from a French director, in Denis.
Yes. Yeah, Denis.
And so he has a different, what's the word? Like, he's presenting that film through a different lens. And through his lens, and French cinema is beautiful as well. So you do get a very different experience.
For sure. Yeah, totally. But like, kind of like going a little bit back to like Coco, and like having like a different like a experience, is that you kind of had like this like a pretty much like the same experience, really, like for you, Naf. Like even though like it is like directed by Lee Unkrich, like I don't want to put him down by saying this, but like, he is white, but he is like directing like a film.
I don't want to insult you, but you are white. That's beautiful.
But I don't know. It's just like it shows like if you do your homework, like with Coco, like the film can still turn out like decently well, and like have like the right people like behind the scenes.
I have watched some video essays on this, because it is interesting to go, okay, why does this film feel like it was not made by a white person? And it was, and it goes to show that like they put a lot of effort into that. Like, they went and lived in that space, they went and experienced Day of the Dead, and not just like going and watching it and going, oh, it's pretty, that's all I'm going to take away from it. Like, they understood the culture so deeply that it doesn't feel like pandering when you're watching the movie. It feels like, again, if I'd never looked up the director, I would have assumed this was made by a Latin American man.
Right.
Unlike
like I just watched Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
In anticipation for like the newest one. I won't say the fifth one because there will always be 3 films in my eyes. But that film, like, it's directed by Steven Spielberg, and you can totally tell it's directed by Steven Spielberg because some of the things that like some of the things that happen, like what you just said, in that movie is just very shocking. Like that Steven Spielberg directed like this film, just belittling like South Asian like and it's like Indian like people.
Yeah.
And the fact that like I was making like this joke, but it's I wish it was a joke because that would mean it didn't actually happen. The fact that Steven Spielberg made Temple of Doom and then got hired on to make The Color Purple, like
I haven't
right
seen The
after
Color
it,
Purple.
is shocking, very shocking. Like
Well,
I
it's
don't
interesting
know.
too
It's
because
like,
when you look at both sides of the coin, you've got him arguably not handling aspects of Temple of Doom very well, but when you give him something that is deeply ingrained in his culture, like Schindler's List, it's perfect. Like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like it just goes to show that it's like not necessarily like a mentality of like stay in your lane, right? Because I think people should be allowed to explore and express however they like, but like arguably when you give someone something that they know so well, they're gonna do a great job with it. Like they're gonna do the best job possible. I think I was watching a video on YouTube Shorts the other day, and it was Denzel Washington talking about that kind of stuff. And he just talks about like the culture behind a film, and there's something that you have to know that just comes across. I think that's something that's quite common in even watching like films that, like for example like Ryan Coogler directs or like Spike Lee's stuff that is very like core to like the black experience. That it's like like you couldn't have somebody else tell that story. You couldn't have Steven Spielberg go in and direct Do the Right Thing. You know, it wouldn't work.
To be honest, I would kind of like to see that film to see what Steven Spielberg would do with it. Just as
I don't want Steven Spielberg to do
value.
it. If we were gonna do that, I would put J.J. Abrams there. Just be like, all right, J.J. Abrams, let's see what you can do. Give me Black Klansman.
Just lens flare just everywhere. That's what. Just.
Oh man.
Oh man.
But we were talking about also the film sort of starting to dip in its second act a little bit, and like I said, I found that with the way that the second act is sort of beginning as you're getting into this new world where you've already been explained the first part, and now I've been introduced to this other part of the world. And I can definitely understand where you're coming from with the mentality of like, because I know where it's going, I kind of want to get there now. But for me, I'd found that because I'm always so immersed in what they're trying to show me that it still works for me, and it doesn't actually dip in my enjoyment at that part at all. I'm still, maybe because I relate to the movie so much, I'm still like a wide-eyed child sitting there and going, wow, so that's what death feels like.
So death is so colorful and just like and so inviting, and I'm just like
I'm ready to go,
when
baby.
When I said that it dipped like in the second act, I think that was a little bit too harsh. Just because like I was still having like a good time like with Coco at that point. It was just like you just said. It's just like I know what was going to happen next, and I was just kind of like. I was kind of like expecting like it to happen like sooner, like Coco or Miguel to actually like find out, but like it's not like a dig on the film at all. Like I still rated this 5 stars, and we need to get like that rating up for Coco, so it's in the top 250 again. So
it's actually so heartbreaking that it dipped out of
it.
me.
Yeah, it will come back. It will come back. I think it's just because Spider-Verse. Everyone's just loving that, and it shot right to number one.
Was literally number 1 on Letterboxd. I saw that the other day. I was gonna make a video about it on TikTok, and then I was like, nah, I won't. And then I come across another video that had like 500,000 likes, and I was like, damn it. And now I don't feel like I can make it because I feel like I'm stealing someone else's content now, even though I had the idea before I saw that video.
Just do it. That's what I've come to terms. Even though if you've seen it done before, just do it. Because even if you didn't see it, it's been done before. So. The only thing that's stopping you now is because you saw it.
That's true.
So just do it. Just do it. Like what Nike says, just do it. But I know we've kind of been bouncing around like a lot, like just talking about films. But we're real lovers. So just
we're real lovers, and we're real lovers.
Yeah.
Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride.
I love you.
Yeah, I love it here. Even in the land of death. It's so
Yeah.
nice.
But one thing that I would like to talk about with this film a little bit is I'd mentioned before that, like, the music itself. Like, I know all of these songs back to back. I've watched the film in English. I've watched it in Spanish. I've watched the live production where Miguel had kind of like aged up to the point where he couldn't sing his songs anymore. So they got his little brother to come in and sing the songs for him. So they got
Oh, that's adorable.
Miguel's
That's
actor's little
adorable.
brother to play him on the live action one that's on Disney Plus.
Keep it in the family.
Yeah, but like
it-
Ben Bratt sings his own songs. Miguel's actor, who I can't remember his name right now, sings his own songs as well. So like it's very impressive.
Yeah, it's like I think it's very impressive. Like when you can get like actors, like being authentic with like their characters and like kind of like singing along with it. Because like when you can tell, like especially in musicals when songs are like dubbed in,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't feel right. And I feel
Particularly
like
the Disney Renaissance era, that was a thing, you know? Like, you didn't have the actor singing, and now you've got most of these films, like, even if you look at, like, Encanto as well, like, the entire cast is singing their own songs. You go to the what was it, the Tonys? And they're doing a live-action production of it, and they've got Stephanie Beatrice there singing in person, and you're like, oh, yeah, nah, it's her.
right. That's it's great. Going back like to the songs, I feel like we have to talk about like we talked about it a little bit, but Remember Me, on just like what that song means at the beginning of the film, how it's supposed to be like this. It's very uplifting, like song,
Yep.
and like the way De La Cruz kind of goes out, like he wants to be remembered, but what's Hector, when you find out that Hector like wrote all of the songs, and you find out what Remember Me was, that who
It
was
was
actually
bastardized by the colonizers. Just saying.
Yes.
But you're right. Like,
it was
the context,
bastardized by capitalism.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
The context, or not the context, but yeah, the implications of that song early in the film, and everybody going, "This is the best song ever," and then, yeah, just knowing that Ernesto has come, he's killed Hector, and then taken his song and just kind of like, it's not right, obviously. But even you've got little things throughout the film where, that song and how it's been presented and how everybody knows it has upset Hector so much that he now hates that song. That was a ballad of love for his daughter and his family who he could no longer see. Like, like this person has ruined that song for this man. And even when they're going to perform at the, like, you know, in the plaza, and Miguel's like, I'm gonna do Remember Me, and Hector's just like, nah, don't do that song. That song sucks. Then he's like, okay, Poco Loco, and he's like, that's the song. And it's like, he wrote the song. Like, of course he's gonna know it. Like, yeah, that aspect of the story's like, again, it's presenting it to us through Miguel's lens. So until you go back and rewatch it again, and you look at the animation on like Hector's face as he's going, nah, not that song, and you see pain that you don't see the first time you're watching it. You're just like, oh, of course he doesn't like it. It's like, he's playing it smart because he knows if you play the popular song, you're not gonna stand out.
Right. Yeah, and it's like Hector's legacy got sold out. Like literally got sold out. And I feel like, as like we're both artists, I feel like when we have something that we've created and someone else comes along and kind of like does like a weird like copy of it or like edit of it, and like we in a way we're kind of like, oh, I don't really want to like do this anymore. Like,
Yeah.
this is like it's not a part of us anymore. And like when I saw that like happen on screen, I felt that, because it's like because as an artist, artists kind of like have like this one-to-one like feeling like for each other, because we're all kind of like going through like the same like motions, despite like of like how we grew up. Like, artists kind of like have like that same like we all kind of like experience depression in some sort of way, and just kind of like, and just like how we create, we kind of experience in pretty much like the same way. And it's like seeing like Hector just kind of like crushed on like this song that he wrote for like his sister, just kind of just being just like a hack, just being hacked. was just like, it broke my heart, and just like, it like I felt that.
Yeah.
Felt that.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's like one of those things that until you watch the movie for a second time, you kind of, you don't, like, they're all his songs. All these songs are his songs. And Ernesto had a good voice, but he wasn't the artist, you know, he was the performer.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like I know that there's kind of like this, like with Elvis too, like a lot of Elvis songs weren't technically his because that was the big thing about like Baz Luhrmann Elvis, was that like he stole a lot of like the sound of music like from black artists, and the fact that he profited off that, it was kind of like De La Cruz was kind of like that it was, he was basically like the Elvis for like this universe, and I'm like, it's heartbreaking like when you see that happen. But yeah. Anyways, do we have any like final thoughts on like Coco?
Well,
like just
I think
like
that
altogether?
like obviously it is one of the greatest Pixar films ever made, and I could talk about this film for like 4 hours. But one of my favorite things is that every like kind of main character in this film has their own arc a little bit, right? And every single character that connects with Miguel learns something from him, and he learns something from them. And it's not very often that you come across a story that's, again, so well structured, so well told, in the sense that even towards the end, you've still got Mama Imelda going, go back, you're not going to play music. And it's until he shows her what music means for her that she can then finally let go of that. And she's seeing, you know, the love of her life going to disappear in front of her, and going, okay, like, no conditions. Like, go, do whatever. And the way that culminates in the ending, because that could be the climax of the film, you know, it could very much be kind of sad, like, it's all good, go, and he goes home and he just kind of does whatever from there. But the fact that the film still continues for another 20 minutes post that, of him going home, Mama Coco waking up, and then the year later, and the song at the end that just ties it all together is so beautiful. Because I think that's another thing that the film does great, where we get the year later and we're back on Dia de los Muertos, and you've got Mama Imelda and Hector, and they're there together, and you're like, oh, that's beautiful. And the camera just pans to the side, and Coco's there too. And there's a sadness there, because you're like, she died. Like, she's dead now.
Right.
But it's a happy ending.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to cry thinking about it, where it's just like, watching her wake up and sing the song with Miguel, and watching her daughter, like, witness that and experience that is just, it's so powerful. And even just that moment when Miguel thinks he's failed, and his dad is like, why have you done this? We were looking for you everywhere. And he just turns around and just cries. And I'm just like, man, like, it's very similar to that moment in Toy Story 3 of, it's over. We don't have anything. Let's just hold hands. It's done. And imagine the trauma that would have had on that kid if he wasn't able to fix that at that point. Like, oh my God.
Right. Especially everything that he's went through. Like, everything that he knows, and then, like, he knows all this, but, like, his family doesn't. Like, and even if he were to tell his family wouldn't technically believe him. They'll be like, oh, you just hit your head. You just hit your head. And, like, you saw, and you saw
Maybe
Hector,
he did.
Like,
Maybe he did. But
well,
he went on a trip.
I think what you just described about, like, Hector kind of, like, rediscovering, like, his love for, like, what's her name again?
Imelda.
Imelda. Is
Imelda.
That,
I'm kidding. Go.
Imelda?
Yeah.
Okay. But I love that, where you can rediscover each other's love, like, in the afterlife. And I'm just like, such a beautiful, like, I'm crying right now. Just like, it's so beautiful. The one issue that I have with the ending, it's kind of funny. Don't worry, it's kind of funny. Is De La Cruz obviously is like, he's hated now because he murdered someone. He murdered someone, and everyone knows now. But he still has a statue, even though it says "Don't remember me." Just burn it down.
Yeah.
Just burn it down. don't even like say his name or anything like that. It's
Yeah,
just like
it's like having the Confederate statues up and being like, we need to remember our history.
yes, exactly. It's exactly like
Yeah,
that.
no, you're
And I'm
right.
like,
I remember. I think that's something else. That I think the film does really well is watching the villain get their comeuppance outside of just we won, but like not just we won, but you lost as well. Is so well done. And the way that it fits his character of, them being able to let's just put the camera on and just film and watch him drop a child from a tower. Like, of course the people were going to turn on him. And then the what's the word? The poetry of him hitting the bell and the bell crushing him again is just...
right. Closing
it's
the
like,
loop.
yeah, it's like the end of The Departed when you see... have you seen The Departed?
Not in a really long time.
Gotcha.
Like, spoilers for The Departed. Just people.
But yeah, it's that
listening,
final
so.
scene of Matt Damon coming home and Mark Wahlberg being in the apartment and going, and then just leaving, and you're just like, oh, I could have survived without that ending, but like, there's something satisfying in like he got his.
Right. Yeah.
And it's great to see that in film sometimes. I think sometimes we were actually talking about it on that podcast episode. We were like, it might seem a little silly to close that loop, but like, sometimes you just go, yep, that was the right call. And I think that was very much the case with this film.
So he went out with the bell, ringing the bell, and then he went out again, ringing the bell. But yeah, Naf, I could talk with you about Coco and about films like all day. You're a lovely human being.
Thank you.
I love you to death. But we should start wrapping up. Naf, where could people find you online?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're watching us live on YouTube, you can stay on this channel. That's got all of our episodes there. The One with the Films podcast is available on demand anywhere you find your podcast, so Spotify, Apple Music, all that kind of stuff. And we've got a bunch of episodes there that, again, recommend that you watch the film before you listen to the podcast because we dive into deep spoilers, but it will give you a lot of films to add to your watch list. And you can also find that watch list on Letterboxd too. The best place to find me is if you go through Instagram or TikTok at On Second Thought. There's the little linked, what do you call them?
Linktree?
Linktree, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That has all of the places you can find me. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter. Yeah, and then it's got links to our YouTube channels and to the podcast as well, where you can find where we're doing most of our stuff. That's a bit.
Yeah,
And thank you so much again for inviting me on, particularly to talk about this film. I know we were trying to plan a film to talk about, and when the second this one came up, I was like, that's the one. And it was maybe 6 months ago we talked about this coming up, so
exactly.
very, very glad we finally got to do it. And
yeah,
I would love to be back if you'd have me again.
Yeah, I would love to have you back anytime. Like, you can come back on for Umberto D. That's the next film that we're going to be watching, like, on the Letterboxd series.
Cool.
But I haven't seen it. It's going to be a first-time watch for me.
I haven't heard of it. So...
It's in the Criterion collection, so for anyone listening, that's the next film we're going to be watching. But you can follow me anywhere, Letterboxd, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Marley Loves Film. It's mirrored, sorry.
Yeah.
My username, Marley Loves Film, that's pretty much everywhere. I locked that up. I feel really proud for locking that up.
Yeah, I thought I had a good name until I tried different social platforms, and I was like, oh, damn it.
Yeah, that's to be honest, Marley Loves Film took years and years for me to like come up with this name because every single thing that I plugged into like Google, someone else had it, like Real Lovers Podcast, and I was just like, when Real Lovers was there and there was no other podcast called that, I was just like, know what? Go on the Google domains, buy everything up, and I'm just like, lock it in now.
I mean, that was us with One with the Films as well. Where I kind of like came up with the name, and I was like, Keegan, we can call it this. And then we started looking it up, and there was nothing. And I was like, it feels, I don't know, like we're Star Wars fans. One with the Force, like One with the Films. Like, it just feels like it was right, and I couldn't believe that it was not taken.
Right. But yeah, you can follow me everywhere, like where I mentioned. You can listen to this podcast anywhere where you listen to podcasts. Spotify, Apple Music, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts, we're there. Follow us on socials. You see it at the bottom of the screen if you're watching here on YouTube. And I'm Marley Silverbrand for the Real Livers podcast, and
I'm Naf. For the Real Lovers podcast today as well.
Yeah. And keep watching films.